I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 9th, where suddenly we're into a wet fall. A lot of places dealing with drought all summer long, even though our crops are gangbusters and a big bumper crop there, but fairly dry around a lot this summer, especially up in the Midwest. But suddenly we are into a wet fall. My gosh, we just had all kinds of rain here in the last week or 10 days. And down here in Texas, we had 2.5 inches of rain in the last couple of days here in the Amarillo area, and that's unheard of. You get down into South Texas and even West Texas, Southwest Texas, just big rains. I mean, goats floating down the river and people just climbing trees to get out of it, and it's widespread over in Oklahoma and all over. Just big rains. And it's kind of taking a toll here on our calf market. These calves are experiencing this kind of weather for the first time, a lot of them, and they don't really know how to handle it. Cattle are real tough when it comes to just cold weather, but cool and wet, when you're not used to it, just adds undue stress, and that's what makes calves sick, and what really saps them is the stress. And when they don't know how to handle that, they're going to get sick, and it's hard to get them out of it, hard to get them over it. But it's taking a toll pretty tough. Look at the board on Monday. October live cattle futures up 37 cents to end the day at 114.17. December up a dime at 118.25. October feeder cattle down a dime at 157.67, and November was up 20 cents at 158.42. Basically nothing. But weighted average on last week's fat cattle trade in the 5-area feeding region, negotiated sales of 111,600 head. Another good heavy movement, and it's keeping everything cleaned up, guys. And just week after week, we just see them keep buying this number of cattle, and they're buying a lot of other cattle and other purchase methods too. A lot of formulated cattle, starting to buy a lot of cattle for contract too, because they're digging out. They know this market's getting higher. They want to try to sew up as many numbers as they can out front, and guys are letting them do that. But of that 111,600, nearly 49,000 of them were on Friday. And if you remember, about 60-some thousand there Monday through Thursday of last week, which made it tough to gain any ground. And it was basically steady, but when your weighted averages come out, that's when you really tell what happened, and we can see that there was more of them on the high side than what a lot of your reports would lead you to believe. But we thought that our live sales were steady. We look at the weighted average on live steers, and it was sure steady, 110.95. Now, they can't just do that buying a 111s with as many 110s as they sold up in the Northern Plains earlier in the week. There were more 112s than what they let on, and a few more 111.50s laid on Friday there. But that's a good springboard going into this week's trade. But that weighted average of 110.95 was 30 cents higher than the weighted average from last week. So, that 111 was steady, but the bulk of the sales actually bring a tick more than what they did. But your dress sales, we knew they were about $1 higher, because the bulk of this past week's sales were 175. Previous week it was 174, and we sure saw that on the weighted averages. Dress steers had a weighted average price of 174.83, and that was up $1.01. So that was fully all of that 175, and a lot of those sales there being that close to your number at 175. Nationwide, 129,600 head. Another and that was negotiated sales. Another 270,000 formulated. I mean, they are buying a lot of cattle. But of that negotiated sales, 129,600, they're starting to buy a little bit more and a little bit more every week of that 2 to 4 week delivery, and that really helps them keep this bull market in check. And they bought 30% this past week, 15 to 30 day delivery, 38,300 head to be exact, of 2 to 4 week delivery. That gives them a little bit to kind of tide them over where they aren't so short bought, and they're not such a target for some of your feedlots if they ever decided to get their head together and play hardball. But your real-time index on your feeder cattle market late on Monday sitting at 156.67. That was actually down 48 cents from the end of last week, and it's mostly all due to weather. Oklahoma City kind of had a tough sale there, 5,600 head. That was about just a little over half what they had last week. But I tell you what, whenever it gets as wet as it's been for the last several days, it's just hard to get any cattle in there, hard to get them moved. They've got to get those cattle rounded up, get them in there, get them loaded, and a lot of those cattle are long haul, and they just were not able to get any more than that in there. And in turn, your market was a little bit tough because of the wet weather, because if those cattle are going nearby around there, I tell you what, these feedlots are sloppy. Everybody's preconditioned pens are a mess. And the weather was cool. That first cool spell, you just kind of forget what it feels like in your bones. Then you start toughening up a little bit after that. But your feeder cattle in Oklahoma City, $3 to $5 lower after last week's big move up and on big receipts, if you remember, over 10,000 head. Your calf market in Oklahoma City National Stockyards, $6 to $8 lower, with some of those unweaned ballers that I was talking about on our weekly summary there that are seeing it tough, as much as $10 lower on those. And those are the kind that they're really going to take it off of, because you get those cattle, they're suffering from separation anxiety from their mothers. They're stressed out, they're bawling, they're cold, they're wet, they can't get comfortable, you can't get them to eat, and it can really turn out to be a wreck. Plus, you know, you're miserable too, trying to get out there and slopping in that mud to try to take care of them. And you know, there's just probably going to be better days to market cattle. But up in Joplin, of course, they're a little more used to the wet weather up there. 4,500 head. Yearlings were steady to firm. Weaned calves steady to $5 higher. Ballers steady to $5 lower for the same reasons. Look at a sale way up north there that in this report you won't see anywhere but here on Cattle Market Central. But look at this report from Faith, South Dakota. 5,600 head on a big sale, mostly all calves on Monday there in Faith. And look at some of these big numbers of calf weights there. 2,300 head of 5-weight steer calves, average 549 pounds with a weighted average price of $178.36, and that's a ton of them to move through there. Look at the heifers of the similar weight. Of course, they're going to be a pinch lighter on the average, but 850 head of 5-weight heifers, average 534 at 157.51. And then back up to the steers on the 6-weight steers, and they average, you know, a lot closer, because you're getting up in that country, guys want to buy those 6-weight steers to feed. And they'll bring really closer than a 5-weight reel. The 5-weights are more popular as you get further south, where they're wanting those cattle to graze on wheat and things like that. But up in that north country, actually your feeding calves have about as good demand. But 826 head of 6-weight steer calves average 623 pounds at 172.46. That's an impressive weighted average. Valentine had a special sale on Monday, calf sale up there, and I mean, it's just unbelievable what they can get for cattle. 5,000 head of them. Matt Lowry sent me some quotes out of there, and this particular quote he sent me was on some fall calves, some old crop fall calves. Now they'd be a year old or just a pinch more, but they've been turned out and been green and hard to find. I mean, top quality, all black in a green condition. 75 head of them, weigh 704 pounds at 184.70. Wow. And then I'll finish up with a sale for Ted Baum's sale there. Elgin, Nebraska livestock sales. 63 head of black steers, weighed 871, 166.50. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.